The morning felt soft, like the world had finally remembered how to breathe. Maya kicked off her sandals and let the sand swallow her feet. Jaden ran ahead with a plastic bucket, shouting over his shoulder, "Mom, the shells here are huge. I'm gonna find one for Grandma." "Bring me one too," she called back, smiling. "The kind that holds the ocean." He laughed and dropped to his knees near the waterline. The tide curved in and out with a calm rhythm, and for once Maya let her shoulders fall. No ringing phone, no case files, no eyes on her back waiting for her to prove herself again. Just her son, a blue sky, and a promise she had made to herself all year. "This week is just about peace, okay?" she said when Jaden ran back to show her a tiny chipped shell. He held it up like a trophy. "You mean like no work, no alarms, and pancakes every morning?" "That is exactly the definition of peace," she said, tapping his nose. They set up on the warm sand. Jaden built a little fort for his shells, and Maya watched the light sliding across the water. She loved the way he talked to the waves like they were old friends. He had her smile, his father's curiosity, and a spirit that refused to bend. She wondered how long she could keep that spirit safe from the sharp parts of the world. A couple strolled past and gave a quick, tight glance at their cooler and beach towels. The woman's mouth thinned as if she'd tasted something sour. The man whispered something that made her look again. Maya saw it and pretended not to. She had learned to let certain looks pass through her like wind. If she caught them all, she'd never breathe. Jaden didn't notice. He was busy drawing a crooked heart around their spot with a plastic rake. "This is our base," he declared. "Nobody can invade." Maya saluted him. "Captain, permission to sit and read within the base?" "Granted," he said. "But you have to admire my castle every 10 minutes. Deal." She opened a paperback she'd been trying to finish for months and read the same sentence 3 times. Her mind wandered to D.C., the unit, the reports waiting, the quiet way people double-checked her math even when it was perfect. She pushed the thoughts away. She had promised Jaden pancakes and herself silence. She would keep both. After a while, he plopped beside her and leaned into her shoulder, damp from the ocean. "If we lived here," he said, "I'd be the best shell hunter in the whole school." "You already are," she said. "You're just on loan to the city." He grinned and stood again. "I'm getting the big ones now." "Watch me." "I'm watching," she said, and she was. She watched the way he scanned the shoreline, patient and hopeful. She watched the waves try to erase his footprints and fail. She watched joy break over his face when the water left behind a smooth piece of sea glass. He ran back, breathless. "Mom, look. It's like a secret window." She held it up to the sun. "Green hope," she said softly. "What?" "Nothing." "It's beautiful." Her phone buzzed inside the tote bag. She didn't move. It buzzed again, then stopped, then started once more like a stubborn memory. Maya let it die out. She closed her eyes and took in the clean salt air, the sound of kids laughing down the beach, the squeak of a cart selling shaved ice. It felt simple here. It felt like the world might be kind if she didn't look too closely. "Shaved ice?" Jaden said, already hopping from foot to foot. "Blue raspberry and lemon," she said, pulling a few bills from her wallet. He sprinted toward the cart and joined the little knot of kids. Maya followed at an easy pace. A security guard near the boardwalk watched her as she walked by, eyes sliding down to her tote, then back to her face, then to Jaden. The look wasn't long, but it had weight. He spoke into his radio, short and low. Maya kept her steps slow and steady. She knew how to move like nothing was happening, even when everything was. Still, a small knot formed in her chest. She told it to loosen. It didn't. Jaden returned, tongue already blue. "The guy said we should see the pier shops," he said. "There's a store with those dancing fish toys." "Dancing fish toys are a serious cultural experience," Maya said, playing along. "We better study them." "After we finish the castle," he said. "You promised inspections every 10 minutes. "I did," she said. "And I don't break promises." They spent the next hour burying each other's feet and naming the castle towers after things they loved. Pancakes, comic books, Grandma's macaroni, the dog they didn't have yet. When the sun rose higher, they moved to the shade near the boardwalk. A pair of teenagers asked if they could borrow their sunscreen. Jaden said yes before Maya could answer, and the teens thanked them with big, easy smiles. "See?" Jaden said. "We're making friends." "We are," Maya said and meant it. The knot in her chest loosened a little. They wandered up to the pier later, just to look. The shops were bright and crowded, filled with souvenirs and salty jokes printed on mugs. Jaden pressed his face to a window with t-shirts that changed color in the sunlight. "Mom," he whispered. "They have one with a dinosaur wearing sunglasses. He's on a skateboard. He's basically me." "Basically," she agreed, pretending to weigh serious financial decisions. "We'll come back tomorrow and adopt him, okay? Promise?" "Promise." They found a small diner with peeling paint and the best smell of butter Maya had ever met. A waitress with silver hoops and kind eyes called everyone baby and treated Jaden like a celebrity. "You want extra syrup?" "Course you do." She winked at Maya. "He's got a smile like someone's best day." "He does," Maya said, warmed by the kindness, while Jaden built a tower of syrup cups. A TV in the corner murmured about local news, hurricane season, a fundraiser for the animal shelter, a brief mention of increased patrols due to summer crowds. A quick clip showed officers on bikes weaving through tourists. Maya looked away and focused on her son stacking cups with very serious hands. "Careful," she said. "That's a load-bearing pancake." He laughed so hard he snorted. The sound felt like the answer to a prayer. On the way back to the beach, the security guard from earlier was standing closer to the path, scanning faces. He looked at Maya again, then at her tote, then down at his radio. It was a small thing, a flicker, but she felt it land. Her jaw tightened. For a second, the world tilted back to the old angle where you had to carry yourself like an explanation. Jaden tugged her hand. "Can we come back tonight and see the lights on the water?" "We can," she said, forcing her voice to stay light. "We'll make a wish when they come on." "What will you wish for?" he asked. "Peace," she said. He swung their hands. "That's boring. Not to me." They spent the afternoon collecting more shells than any suitcase could reasonably hold. They packed up when the sun started to fall, skin warm and sticky with salt. At the hotel, Jaden arranged his treasures on the windowsill like a tiny museum and kept up a running commentary about names and ranks and rare sea glass sightings. Maya listened, nodded, laughed in the right places, and felt that small knot return when he wasn't looking. "Mom," he said, crawling into bed with his favorite book. "You think Grandma would like the green window?" "She'll love it," Maya said, tucking him in. "She'll say you caught a piece of the ocean." He yawned and blinked heavy eyes. "Can we go to the pier store tomorrow? I want to show you the dancing fish for real. And maybe the dinosaur shirt could, accidentally jump into our hands." "We'll go," she promised. "Tomorrow." He reached for her hand in the dark. "I like it here." "I do too," she whispered. "Sleep." When his breathing evened out, she stood at the window and watched the pier lights blur in the distance. The day had been good. It had been almost perfect. And yet that old, familiar awareness sat with her like a shadow. Sometimes the world smiled at you. Sometimes it measured you first. Maya pressed her palm to the cool glass. "This week is just about peace," she said again, softer now, like a vow she was making to herself. In the hallway, someone laughed too loud. A door clicked shut. A gull cried over the water. She let the sound settle around her and tried to let go. Tomorrow would be simple, she told herself. A walk, a silly shirt, a dancing fish. She'd keep her promise. They'd be seen by the sun and the sea and nothing else. Down on the boardwalk, the security guard spoke into his radio and watched the lights go out one by one. Morning came easy, like the world had decided to be kind. Maya and Jaden walked the pier with paper cups of hot chocolate, steam twisting in the cool air. Street musicians played a soft tune. A gull hopped along the railing like it had somewhere to be. Jaden pointed at a window display crowded with toys. "There," he said, bouncing. "The dancing fish. Lead the way," Maya said, smiling. Inside, the shop smelled like new cotton and lemon cleaner. Bright shirts hung on racks. Little gadgets blinked and sang. Jaden went straight to a shelf where plastic fish flapped when music played. He clapped and laughed when one wiggled. "That one's got moves," Maya said. The clerk behind the counter glanced up, then down, then up again, slow like he was making a note. He pressed his lips together and lifted the walkie-talkie near the register. Maya saw the motion in the glass reflection of a photo frame. A small click, a short whisper. Nothing loud, nothing you could point to, but it was there. She kept her face calm. "Mom," Jaden said, tugging her sleeve. Can I show you the dinosaur shirts, please, please? Show me, she said. He guided her to a rack in the back. They held up a t-shirt against him, both trying not to laugh at how the skateboard dinosaur looked like it had homework due. Maya checked the size tag. We'll take it, she said, and Jaden's joy bubbled out of him. They walked to the counter. The clerk smiled without his eyes and scanned the shirt. That'll be $32.95, he said flatly. Maya reached into her tote for her wallet. Her fingers brushed the leather case with her badge. She moved past it, pulled the card, and handed it over. The clerk flipped it twice like he was checking if it was real money. Do you have ID? He asked. Sure, Maya said, already taking it out. Before she could place it down, the shop door opened. The bell chimed sharply. 2 officers stepped in, one young, cheeks hot with something like adrenaline. The other older, jaw carved into a line. The young one spoke first, voice already raised. Ma'am, keep your hands where I can see them. People near the door went quiet. Couple browsing mugs froze. Jaden moved closer to Maya, his shoulder brushing her hip. What's going on? Maya asked, holding both hands at chest height like a lesson she had learned long ago. We're buying a t-shirt. We got a call, the older one said. His badge read Holbrook. Possible fraudulent card use. Step to the side, please. The young one, Grant, was already setting his stance like he was in a training video. Hands visible, he repeated. Jaden's voice came out small. Mom? It's okay, baby, Maya said, keeping her tone even. We're fine. The clerk folded his arms like he'd done something noble. She seemed off, he offered. Kept looking around. Maya looked down at her son, at his blue-rimmed eyes from last night's candy. She heard her own heart in her ears. Officer, she said carefully, my son and I are on vacation. You can run my card. You can check my ID. There's been a mistake, Grant cut in. We'll decide what's a mistake. Holbrook gestured to the door. Outside. We'll talk there. Can we not do this in front of my child? Maya asked. You can ask me anything you need right here. People are watching. He's scared. Grant's jaw clenched. Outside. Now. A woman near the sunglasses rack murmured. Just do what they say. Her husband nodded like he'd solved something. Maya picked up her tote with slow, careful hands. She placed the t-shirt back on the counter. Jaden clutched her fingers so tight it hurt. They stepped onto the pier, sunlight suddenly too bright, the sound of gulls too sharp. The officers positioned them against the shop's wall as if the wall could keep the day from spilling everywhere. Holbrook took the card and ID. Name? Maya Reynolds, she said. Where are you staying? The Seabreeze Hotel, room 412. You own the card? Grant asked, looking her over like a scan could tell the truth. Yes, she said. He stared a beat too long. Reason for the trip? Vacation, she said. With my son. Grant nodded like her answers fit a story he didn't like. We received a report of suspicious behavior from the clerk, he said. You understand we have to take that seriously. What behavior? Maya asked, keeping her voice level. I picked a shirt and handed over a card. Don't get smart, Grant snapped. Holbrook held the ID toward the son. Says D.C., he muttered. Long way from home. People travel, she said softly. Jaden tugged her arm. Mom, did we do something wrong? His voice was breaking. No, she said, small and firm. We did nothing wrong. Grant looked at Jaden, then back at Maya like he'd forgotten children were real. How old is he? 10. His father around? Maya felt that one like a shove. No, she said. Grant smirked at Holbrook like he'd learned something important. Holbrook didn't smile. He was studying Maya's ID with the patience of a man who'd been wrong before and hated it. Tourists began to collect. Some pretended to check their phones while watching. A teenager chewed his straw and whispered to a friend. The shop clerk stood in the doorway with his arms still folded, the hero of his own small story. Holbrook handed the ID back with 2 fingers. We'll need to verify, he said. You can wait right here. How long? Maya asked. As long as it takes, Grant said. Unless you have something else you want to tell us. Maya felt the answer sitting heavy in her bag. The badge, the credentials, the key that could flip this moment on its head. She pictured Jaden's face if she pulled it out now, how he would watch them switch from suspicion to apology with a metal square and a title. She pictured him learning the wrong lesson. That dignity is a costume you have to show to be safe. She kept her hands still. I have told you the truth, she said. You have my ID. You can call the hotel. Grant took a step closer, too close. Ma'am, are you refusing to cooperate? Maya held his stare. I am cooperating. Jaden pressed his face into her side. Mom, can we go, please? She smoothed his hair with a steady hand. Her voice stayed calm even as the knot in her chest pulled tight. Soon, she whispered. Holbrook radioed in the card check. Grant kept talking like silence made him nervous. You understand we deal with this all the time. People come in from out of town thinking they can what? Maya asked. He blinked. I didn't say anything. A couple from the beach walked by, the same pair from yesterday. The woman's mouth thinned again. Some people, she said to no one and everyone. A different voice cut through, young, wavering, but clear. She didn't do anything, said a girl with a sunburned nose and a backpack. She nodded toward Jaden. He was laughing at the fish. They were buying a shirt. Her friend tugged her sleeve. Come on, he whispered. Don't, she swallowed and stayed. It's not right. Grant's eyes flashed annoyance. Keep moving, he said. Holbrook's radio crackled. He listened, then glanced at the card and back at Maya. Something eased in his shoulders, just a fraction. The card is valid, he said. No flags. The words didn't wash anything clean. They just hung there, like a door open to a room you didn't want to enter. Grant frowned, unhappy to have nothing to push against. So we're done? Maya asked quietly. Holbrook cleared his throat. You can go, he said. Clerk reported suspicious activity. We followed up. It's our job. Maya looked at the clerk. He didn't look back. She looked at the officers. Grant's jaw was tight with leftover heat. Holbrook's eyes had the dull shine of a man who wanted the day to end. Jaden's hand was still in hers, small and shaking. She bent down to him. We're leaving, she said. Right now, he nodded, eyes wet. I didn't take anything, he whispered like a confession. I know, she said. You did everything right. They walked away, steps careful, backs straight. The crowd loosened and then swallowed them up as crowds do. When they turned the corner, Jaden stopped and took 3 quick breaths like he'd been running. Mom, he said, voice breaking. Why did they think? She knelt to his height and held his face. Sometimes people see what they've been taught to see, she said. Even when it's not true. Did I make it worse? He asked. I talked too loud. I laughed. You were perfect, she said, and felt the words land like a shield. None of this was your fault. They reached the end of the pier and sat on a bench where the wind pushed at their clothes. Maya stared at the water until it blurred. She swallowed hard, tasted salt, and didn't know if it was the ocean or her. Jaden leaned his head against her arm. Can we go back to the room? He asked. I don't like it here anymore. We can, she said. We'll make grilled cheese in the microwave and watch something dumb. Like the show with the dog who thinks he's a detective? He asked. Especially that one. They walked the long path back to the hotel, passing a sign that promised sunset boat tours and laughter. A bike cop rolled by and didn't look at them at all. The world kept spinning like it always did, like it always would, even when the ground under your feet had changed. In the elevator, Jaden stood close enough to share breath. Mom, he said, so small she had to bend to hear him. Are we in trouble? No, she said. We are together. He nodded and stared at the glowing numbers as the floors ticked by. When the doors opened, he broke into a run and dove onto his bed like it could hold all of him. Maya closed the door softly and leaned against it for a second longer than she meant to. Her tote sat on the table, the leather case inside it heavy as a stone. She pulled it out and set it next to her wallet. The badge caught the light and threw it back at her. She could feel the shape of the next decision, the one that would teach her son what safety really cost. Jaden's voice drifted from the bed. Can you sit with me? Just for a minute? I'm right here, she said, taking her spot beside him. He tucked his head under her arm like he did when he was 5. She held him until the tremble left his shoulders. The TV played a silly theme song. The world outside their room kept up its endless noise. After a while, he fell asleep the way tired children do, fast and deep. Maya slid out of bed and moved to the window. The pier lights blinked in the distance, steady and bright. She saw herself in the glass, barefoot, strong, and so very tired. She pressed her palm to the cool pane and breathed until her breath fogged a small circle. They had let her go. They had not said the word sorry. The clerk had not looked at her again. The crowd had watched and then moved on. Somewhere, a report was being written in a language that protected the writer and blamed the air. Maya set the badge on the table and stared at it. Power, she thought, shouldn't be something you have to prove to be treated like a person. She closed her eyes and heard her own voice from yesterday. This week is just about peace. The words felt thinner now, but they were still there. Maybe peace wasn't quiet. Maybe it was choosing who you were in the worst moments. She opened her eyes and picked up a pen from the hotel notepad. On the top sheet, she wrote one sentence, simple and clear. I'm filing a complaint. She placed the note next to the badge and looked back at her sleeping son. They don't get to teach you who your mother is, she whispered, and the promise settled in her chest, warm and solid. Outside, the ocean kept breathing. Inside, the room held steady, and somewhere between those two rhythms, something in Maya shifted from hurt to purpose, from silence to a voice she was done hiding. The next morning arrived with a quiet determination in the air. Maya woke before Jaden, sitting by the window as pale sunlight spilled through the curtains. The note she had written the night before still lay beside her badge, a small piece of paper, but heavy with meaning. She read it again and felt the words solidify inside her like steel. I'm filing a complaint. For the first time since the incident, she didn't feel powerless. She felt anchored. She knew the risks. She'd seen what happened to people who challenged the system from within, but she also knew what silence cost. Silence taught her son that this was normal. Silence handed over dignity without a fight. When Jaden stirred, rubbing his eyes and sitting up, she smiled softly. Morning, champ. He blinked at her, his curls messy, his voice sleepy. Do we have to go back there? She shook her head. No, not today. Today we do something better. He tilted his head, curious. What's that? She paused before answering, her tone calm but firm. We tell the truth. By mid-morning, Maya was dressed in a crisp blouse and jeans, simple but purposeful. She tucked her badge into her tote, not to show off, but to remind herself of who she really was. She had spent her entire life walking into rooms that doubted her presence. Today would be no different, except she would not shrink. She called the local police department and requested to speak with an officer regarding a complaint. The receptionist's tone shifted when Maya mentioned she was visiting from D.C. and worked in federal law enforcement. Of course, ma'am, the woman said quickly. You can come in at noon. Someone will assist you. Jaden wanted to come along. Maya hesitated but then nodded. You'll stay in the lobby, okay? Read your comic book. He agreed with a serious little nod, as if understanding the importance of the day. They arrived at the station under a bright sky that seemed too cheerful for what it held. The building looked ordinary. Gray stone, glass doors, a flag fluttering. But to Maya, it felt like a battleground of something larger than rules and badges. She walked in with her chin lifted, holding Jaden's hand. At the reception desk, the young Latina officer who introduced herself as Elena Cruz greeted them warmly. There was something different in her tone, something genuine. Agent Reynolds? She asked quietly, reading the name on the visitor form. I heard what happened. I wanted to meet you. Maya studied her face, sensing no pretense, only quiet empathy. You didn't have to, Maya said. Elena gave a small smile. Maybe not. But I should. They sat in a small side office. Jaden stayed near the doorway, drawing superheroes on the back of a receipt. Elena leaned forward, lowering her voice. I saw the report come through yesterday. It didn't sit right with me. The clerk at that store has had multiple complaints, mostly against Black and Latino tourists. But nothing sticks. People just go home and forget. She paused. You didn't forget? Maya met her eyes. I can't, not when my son saw it happen. Elena nodded. Then let's make sure it means something. Together they went through every detail. Time, names, actions, the crowd, the humiliation. Even the way the word suspicious was used like a weapon. Elena helped her document everything properly, ensuring the language couldn't be twisted or softened. If you want, she said, I'll make sure this reaches the captain directly. Maya looked at her. And what happens after that? Elena sighed. Maybe nothing. Maybe everything. But it'll be on record, and they'll have to look at themselves. Maya thanked her, her voice steady but full. You don't know what this means to me. Elena smiled faintly. I do, actually. I've been the only one in the room, too. They shared a quiet moment of understanding, two women from different backgrounds, standing on the same side of truth. Before leaving, Elena said, if they call you in for questioning, keep your badge on you. But don't lead with it. Lead with your story. That's what they'll remember. Back at the hotel, Jaden sat on the bed coloring his drawing of a superhero. He had written Captain Truth in bold letters above it. When Maya asked about it, he grinned. He fights lies with light beams. He doesn't punch. He just shines really bright until everyone sees what's real. Maya smiled, feeling her heart soften. That's a good kind of hero, she said. Maybe the best kind. Over the next few days, the air in the small coastal town changed. Word had spread quietly about the woman from D.C., the complaint, the officers. People who had watched the scene unfold at the pier now whispered in guilt or curiosity. The store clerk avoided eye contact when Maya passed by. Some apologized with their silence. Others simply stepped aside. Jaden noticed the difference, too. People keep looking at us, he said one afternoon. But not like before, more like, they're thinking. Maya nodded. Maybe they're seeing. Then one morning she got the call. Dr. Reynolds, the voice said. The chief has requested a meeting regarding your complaint. He'd like you to come in this afternoon. Maya thanked them, hung up, and sat for a long moment in silence. She knew this was it, the moment that would test everything she believed about justice, dignity, and power. She arrived at the station just after lunch. The air was still, the corridors quiet except for the faint hum of fluorescent lights. When she entered the conference room, she found the police chief seated at the head of the table, with officers Grant and Holbrook beside him. Grant's smirk faltered the moment he saw her badge glint from the edge of her tote. The chief gestured for her to sit. Dr. Reynolds, he began, we've reviewed your complaint and gathered preliminary statements. His tone was formal, rehearsed. We take these matters seriously. Maya nodded. I hope so. The chief continued. Would you like to add anything before we proceed? She took a slow breath. Yes, she said. I'd like to play something. She reached into her tote and produced a small USB drive. This is body cam footage, she said evenly. Acquired through a federal contact. She plugged it into the monitor. The room fell silent as the video played. Her calm voice, the officer's harsh tone, the trembling child, the false accusation. The footage spoke louder than anything she could have said. When it ended, no one moved for a long moment. Grant shifted uncomfortably, his jaw tightening. Holbrook looked down at the table, shame written across his face. The chief finally spoke. This is deeply troubling, Maya met his gaze. Troubling is when you spill coffee on a report. This was public humiliation. In front of a child. Grant opened his mouth, defensive. We were following protocol. Maya turned to him, eyes sharp but calm. Protocol doesn't include destroying a child's trust in justice, she said. It doesn't include treating a mother like a suspect for existing. Her words hung heavy in the air. The chief rubbed his temples. There will be an internal investigation, he said quietly. And I assure you, disciplinary action will be taken. Maya stood, gathering her things. I don't need an apology, she said. I need change. Then she left, her steps quiet but certain. As she walked through the lobby, she noticed Elena standing by the front desk. Their eyes met, and Elena gave a small, proud nod. Maya returned it, a silent thank you between women who had done something brave. Later that evening, back at the pier, the sun dipped low, painting the sky in colors too beautiful for such a heavy day. Jaden leaned on the railing beside her, tossing small shells into the waves. Did we win, Mom? He asked. Maya looked at the horizon and smiled faintly. We didn't come here to win, baby, she said. We came to be seen. The waves shimmered under the fading light. Somewhere behind them, people were still whispering, still learning. But Maya felt peace, not the fragile kind that hides from conflict, but the kind that comes from standing tall in truth. She turned to her son and brushed a hand through his hair. You see that, Jay? She said, nodding toward the horizon. That's what real peace looks like. He followed her gaze and smiled, small but sure. It's bright, he said. Maya nodded. It always is. And for the first time since their vacation began, she felt like the light was finally on her side. Days later, the story quietly rippled through the town like a wave nobody could stop. The incident at the pier was no longer just gossip. It had become a mirror people didn't want to look into. The store clerk was suspended, and the department issued a formal apology after the internal review confirmed racial bias. But for Maya, the apology wasn't what mattered. It was the acknowledgement, the simple truth that what happened to her and Jaden should never have happened at all. She hadn't set out to make a spectacle. She only wanted to make sure her son saw her stand, not bow. Reporters tried to reach her, but she declined every call. She wasn't chasing attention or revenge. She'd seen too many people lose themselves to bitterness while fighting for justice. Instead, she spent her remaining days by the ocean with Jaden, letting the salt air wash away what pain it could. Every evening, they walked the shoreline collecting shells again. This time, the waves didn't sound like questions. They sounded like release. Officer Elena Cruz stopped by one afternoon dressed in plain clothes, holding 2 cups of coffee. "You made people talk," she said, smiling softly. "That's the first step toward change." Maya accepted the cup and nodded. "Talking is good. Listening is better." They stood in silence for a while, watching Jaden chase the foam at the water's edge. Elena sighed. "You know, I think what you did, it's going to make a lot of officers rethink what the badge really means." Maya glanced at her. "It should mean protection, not power." Elena nodded, her eyes distant. "We forget that sometimes." When the day of departure came, Maya packed their things slowly, folding the little dinosaur shirt Jaden had finally bought the day before. It felt symbolic, something innocent reclaimed from a moment that had almost ruined their trip. As they loaded their bags, Jaden looked at her. "Mom, are we ever coming back here?" he asked. She smiled faintly. "Maybe one day. When the world feels softer." He thought about it, then said, "I liked when the nice officer came. She was brave too." Maya nodded. "Sometimes bravery is just doing what's right when nobody else does." Before leaving, she took one last walk to the pier. The same sea breeze met her, gentle and familiar. The same sky stretched wide above her, unbothered by human ugliness. But she felt different, stronger, grounded. She had faced something meant to break her, and turned it into something that taught her child what resilience looked like. As the waves lapped at the wooden posts below, she whispered, "This week was about peace. And maybe we found it after all." Back in D.C., the world returned to its noise, the endless calls, reports, and deadlines. But Maya carried something new inside her, a quiet conviction that justice isn't found in grand gestures. It's built moment by moment, through the courage to speak, the strength to stand, and the grace to forgive without forgetting.